Right. I was in the United States Navy, very proud of that, and I graduated on May 15th and I was in the Navy on June 6th, so I was 18 years old, and I served for 5 years. I served in Florida, Virginia. I went to school to learn my trade in California, and I was on board the USS Hunley in Holy Loch, Scotland.
At 17 years old, I joined the Navy, and my first station was, of course, boot camp, and then there I went on LST out of Norfolk, Virginia, did a Caribbean cruise, and then I went to Great Lakes for school, Machinist Mayday School. When I graduated there, they put me on a destroyer on board in Yokosuka, Japan, and later transferred to Pearl Harbor, which the remainder of my Navy career was on the destroyer. And we did two cruises, or two stints in Vietnam as gunfire support and river patrol duty.
So I enlisted in the Army on active duty for a 5-year enlistment when I was 17 years old. I enlisted and decided to serve on active duty rather than some of the other options because I came from a very poor area, very rural area in South Georgia, where there was not a lot of jobs, there was not a lot of opportunity for any of the young people graduating from high school, and I came from a family who, we were not wealthy, we were actually rather poor, so college being as expensive as it is, I knew that in order to be able to continue to afford that and to be able to attend school, I had to have some sort of funds for that. And the Army gave me the ability to pay for college.
I was a nuclear weapons technician, so we took care of all the limited life component changes for nuclear weapons, and I did that for 5 years, and that's why I have such a glowing personality.
I went to Vietnam in 1967, and it was quite an experience. We were on the gun line a lot of times. At night we'd fire star shells to protect the Marines, and we went up some of the rivers. We had bases up there, and one night we were in the river, and the Vietnamese people didn't know we were there.
I enlisted as a human intelligence collector, an interrogator, and a counterintelligence agent. I worked with a variety of special forces units and pretty much anybody who needed a military intelligence agent, someone who could conduct battlefield interrogations in the middle of a firefight, someone who could work alongside special operations troops and provide the intel support that they needed to drive their mission. So if they needed to go capture a bad guy, we had to find out where that person was.
Well, first of all, I'm very blessed. I went in 1983, there was no active conflicts. We were not in a war. So today when people say, oh, I'm gonna serve, or I have served in the last so many years, they knew that there was a chance that they might have to give their life for their country. I went in as a way to better myself. But I do remember when I was stationed over in Holy Loch, Scotland, there was one time, because we were a submarine tender, so all the submarines would pull up next to us, and we were kind of like their grocery store, their factory, their laundry. And when the ships would come up and have the nuclear weapons, Greenpeace was protesting this. So I remember having this huge meeting about how we were afraid these protesters were going to come and try to climb up on the ship, and we might actually have to do something. When I was in the military, I was qualified on a 45, 12-gauge shotgun, and an M60, but I never really thought I'd have to shoot somebody. So I remember being very nervous about that.
Yeah, I had a lot of memories. At that young of age, you learn a lot from the other sailors, and you know, the experience of traveling around the world, you know, and the different things that we did. Before I was 21, I've seen more things than people in their 40s or 50s, you know. So that was kind of an interesting part for me. That's the reason I chose the Navy, because I wanted to see the rest of the world.
When you've been in a combat situation where someone is intending to cause harm to you and the people with you, that very quickly simplifies things. You know, it gives you a direction. You know that you need to avoid being harmed. You know that you need to prevent those around you from being harmed as well. And so your training kicks in, and there's, you know, all kinds of training as to how to deal with that. Well, here at Cooper, a long way from a battlefield, a long way from Afghanistan, there are still difficult days. Every teacher, you know, whether it's someone who's cooking, or it's a security personnel, or it's someone in performing arts, like, we're all human, so we all have those difficult days. But someone who's been in the military and someone who's worn the uniform, like Steph and other people, it really makes your bad days not so bad when you think about the places you've been.
It's not as popular as it used to be, but to me, it's a day of respect for the veterans that serve.
More often than not, you're going to see Chef Roman on Veterans Day walking up to our vets from World War II, from the Vietnam era, and the older veterans, some of the veteran homes that are around here, convalescent homes and stuff, because those men and women are the reason that I am able to live in a country that's free, and afforded me the opportunity to serve my country, and now even afforded me the opportunity to work at the John Cooper School. That right that I have, those people had defended long before I was ever born.
When I first was finished serving, nobody seemed to care about veterans. They just weren't mentioned. But I'm so proud of our country that since we got in the conflict with Iran, and we're really seeing people that are giving their lives, and these families now that have lost their family members, or veterans that have come back, you know, with different ailments and stuff, that we've started to recognize them. And nobody seemed to really notice that I was a veteran. And again, I went in when there wasn't a conflict. So now I'm just so proud, and when people come up and they say thank you for your service, it's wonderful.